And it's not just the U.S. on alert. Around the world, governments are trying different ways to contain the virus. In Lebanon, as we mentioned, school children are being sprayed with disinfectant on their way to class. In Japan, Prime Minister Abe has closed all elementary, middle, and high schools throughout the end of next month. But perhaps the biggest concern is in South Korea, after a dramatic 505 new cases were announced just in the last day. 13 people have been killed as residents of Daegu, the affected area, have been staying home. And in Italy, 17 people have been killed. Our James Longman has been there covering the European efforts to contain the virus. And our Ian Panel is now in self-quarantine after spending time in the South Korean hotspot of Daegu. Here is their report.
Usually this park is full of kids playing, but because of the virus, everybody's staying indoors because they're scared to come outside. This is my daughter, so what do you think about that?
I want to play with my friends, but everybody's scared of virus and they won't come out.
This is now the new normal. A father and daughter wearing masks in an empty playground. These scenes are playing out across parts of the globe where coronavirus COVID-19 has now spread. What began as an isolated cluster in China's Hubei province is now spreading through South Korea at an alarming rate. Over 1,700 people infected and more than a dozen deaths just this week alone. Now, a US soldier serving here is among the patients, and there are no signs this virus is letting up. South Korea, like countries before it, is struggling to contain the spread, urging 2.5 million of its citizens in the city of Daegu to stay home.
Okay, so we're going to go out here with my family. So everybody's wearing gloves. We're not pushing the buttons anymore. In our apartment, they've installed a hand sanitizer basket here.
But South Korean officials have stopped short of imposing a full lockdown. People here are still able to leave their homes, even the city. It's a stark contrast to China's mandatory lockdowns, where officials have released a video warning of what'll happen if a sick person tries to flee a checkpoint. Extreme measures perhaps, but the dilemma of how to stop the spread of this virus is deadly serious. While most people in Daegu are stoic, calm, the worry is undeniable.
This is now the biggest outbreak outside of China. We're in the city centre or in one of the main urban areas. Just listen to how quiet it is. You can see there's the odd couple out there sat on a bench, people walking their dogs. There's a gentleman over there even getting out for some exercise, because otherwise people are pretty much housebound.
Mr. John Won-woong is a sprightly 80-year-old who's still going out and working out, but he's worried.
They don't go outside for the slight possibility that they might catch the virus. They just don't want to meet any others.
People here make their own choices about whether or not to go out, but like Mr. Woon's family, most stay at home. Most businesses are shuttered. All schools, colleges and daycares are closed. Normal life has been suspended. Leaving home is no longer a routine task. Every step over the threshold has to be calculated.
I told my wife, well, let's just go in, get what we need, quickly get out and go home. And then, of course, when we came home, wash your hands and just, be safe. We're just being careful, try to limit meeting lots of people, just being safe.
The growing cluster of cases in South Korea has authorities struggling to keep up. There aren't enough doctors, not enough nurses, not enough beds, not enough equipment to care for all the sick. When we visited this hospital in Daegu, it was already near capacity.
Okay.
This hospital is now at the centre of the outbreak in South Korea. There are more than 200 patients inside and all of them have COVID-19. Now, over the last hour or so, we've seen a fairly regular stream of ambulances bringing more patients in. Then the process of disinfecting. This seems like an almost never-ending process and a battle that's tough to win.
The risk of death from COVID-19 appears to be greater amongst older adults with prior medical conditions. But the fear of the unknown consumes this continent. 3 weeks ago, we were in Hong Kong, where people were desperately trying to get their hands on face masks.
They're being tightly rationed. If you have a look up here on the wall, it's basically telling people we've tried our best, we don't have any more masks, and that's the situation across Hong Kong.
Since that trip, we've seen repeated scenes of people trying to protect themselves and their loved ones. From the streets of Wuhan to a cruise ship in Japan. And now to Europe, a continent with open borders, where the measures put in place in Asia won't work so easily, and where officials will have to find new ways to fight the spread of COVID-19.
Life on pause for one of Europe's biggest cities.
E come l'atmosfera qua a Milano oggi?
In Milan, only a scattering of tourists outside the famous cathedral, its doors only open to worshippers. So much of the city on lockdown. Italy's outbreak centred on 12 towns only 30 miles from the city centre. So Italian officials, like in Asia, taking no chances. All public spaces considered a vulnerability. Milan's university, movie theatres, gyms and libraries all closed.
Milan is an industrial, but of course, massive fashion powerhouse. Brands like these are having real problems with production. So whatever the medical reality of this virus, the economic consequences around the world are huge.
A washout for Fashion Week. Giorgio Armani's models walking through an empty hall. COVID-19 impacting the lives and finances of yet another city.
Because of panic, the supermarkets have been cleaned out. People have gotten a little bit more aggressive. You can tell that they're worried. Even the streets are more empty.
Italy taking lessons from the Chinese, cordoning off entire towns from the outside world.
This is the police line. Beyond here are the 12 towns that are on lockdown. And take a look on Google Maps. You can see every way in is blocked off.
From small towns in Italy to sprawling cities in Asia, the theme is the same. While governments are not keeping people from leaving their homes quite yet, businesses are forced to shut down.
It says close for the mayor's orders until, we don't know until when, actually.
People stand in long lines to get supplies.
Ma perché ci sono gli scaffali della pasta vuoti? Ma che cosa sta succedendo?
Routines and day-to-day lives continue to be upended. 23-year-old Italian resident Rossella showed us her new reality.
As you can see, there's nothing there, almost nothing there, nothing in here. And there are people wearing face masks everywhere.
And as we saw in Asia, restraining the movements of some does not prevent this highly infectious virus from reaching others. Europe's free-flowing borders make it nearly impossible to stop this from spreading. They're battling an invisible enemy. A hotel in Spain is now putting 1,000 people under quarantine after an Italian doctor and his wife tested positive. Croatia and Austria also reporting cases linked to the Italian outbreak. The international community is about to take on a new challenge as countries like Iran are accused of underreporting their cases of infected people. Watch as Iran's deputy health minister appears ill in a live broadcast. The man next to him is a government spokesman telling Iranians there's nothing to worry about. Days later, both are diagnosed with coronavirus. And efforts to battle this virus will be made even more difficult as the first person in the US contracted it without any known exposure to an infected person. With no clear idea of how to stop the spread, concern has morphed into prejudice. Asian communities in Western countries increasingly the target of racist abuse.
This is Milan's Chinatown, and basically every single shop or restaurant or cafe is closed. And it is fair to say that along with the virus, a sense of anti-Asian sentiment is creeping. Incidents of racism against Asian people are on the rise throughout Europe.
While the vast majority of cases are in China, wherever people go, the virus follows. Every continent except Antarctica now reporting illness. Putting hundreds of thousands under mandatory or voluntary isolation cannot last because it does not work. As the global financial markets continue to reel from the effects of COVID-19, panic and uncertainty seem almost more contagious than the virus itself. The race is on for health officials and world leaders to find concrete answers, because every man for himself is not a sustainable reality.
Our thanks to James Longman and Ian Pannell for that report.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.